Chapter 1203. Which two peak venerables are battling? Black Myth Prize winners to be announced later. _2 The reason Fu Su Venerate stands above the peak venerables is that he mastered a supreme legacy passed down from the ancestors. Each of the 6 ancient countries' 13th generation ancestors left relevant supreme legacies in their treasuries, which many venerates attempt to cultivate, but very few actually succeed. Cultivating and mastering are two different things. Is this the power of a peak venerable? The few peak venerables of the Daling ancient country looked at each other, their hearts inevitably uneasy. The clash between Lin Yuan and the Spirit Prison Venerate unleashed a wave of power, which alone was equivalent to the full force of these peak venerables. The Galaxy Venerate should be a peak venerable. The few Daling peak venerables silently observed, forming their judgment. The Spirit Prison Venerate suspected that Lin Yuan had used external help to explode his right eye's spirit prison, and the same speculation naturally occurred to these peak venerables. After all, Lin Yuan's rise was too rapid. Even if he carried the ancestral bloodline of a venerate, wouldn't growth and exploration require time? However, after the clash before them, even though the Spirit Prison Venerate lost his right eye, his strength as a peak venerable remained, and he still couldn't suppress the Galaxy Venerate in the slightest. This was a straightforward battle. If not a peak venerable, then what? Rumbling. The direct clash between two peak venerables continually spread its power to all corners of the world. Is that peak venerables fighting fiercely? The peak venerable of Thunderclap ancient country had just refined a core pillar and looked up in a certain direction, secretly curious. Just entering the treasure grounds, and there are peak venerables dueling? Apart from the Defu ancient country, in the other 5 ancient countries, peak venerables are generally the limit of combat power. In the initial scramble for the treasure grounds, even if they encounter each other, they wouldn't easily fight. Is one of the peak venerables the Spirit Prison Venerate? Who is the other? The peak venerable of Thunderclap ancient country gazed into the distance, pondering. Never mind, whoever it is, the more fiercely they fight, the better, giving me the chance to refine more core pillars. Immediately, this peak venerable flew off in another direction, searching for new core pillars. Meanwhile, all the places within the treasure grounds sensed the battle between peak venerables. Is it the Spirit Prison Venerate? Has the Spirit Prison Venerate encountered a foe so quickly? Who is the peak venerable clashing with the Spirit Prison Venerate? I've never sensed this kind of aura before. However, this power is scorching and bold. It should be a peak venerable from the Fierce Sun ancient country, but the 3 peak venerables sent this time by the Fierce Sun ancient country, Qi Yan, Hengyang, and Guanglie, none seem to match. Many peak venerables, even the peak venerables, focused part of their attention on this battle. However, they continued their frantic search for each place's core pillars. Spirit Prison Eternal. The Spirit Prison Venerate's right eye was hollow, and his left eye was endlessly deep, subtly causing nearby realms to twist and rotate. This move was considered one of his killer moves, specifically prepared for other peak venerables, but now it was being used on Lin Yuan. What is this? Lin Yuan's expression was somewhat grave. The many seeds of the fierce sun within him started to glow. Around him, within the cosmos he enveloped, thousands upon thousands of fierce suns ascended, and in an instant, there were 33,333 fierce suns suspended. This was the first time Lin Yuan fully activated the divine ability world in front of others. Previously, when trapped within the right eye spirit prison, no other powers watched. This move again? The Spirit Prison Venerate's expression was fierce. His right eye had been burst open by such a relentless force of the fierce sun. As rounds of fierce suns floated, the Spirit Prison realm released by the Spirit Prison Venerate swiftly dissolved, with 60% of its area disintegrating in no time. This technique has never been used by any peak venerables in the history of the Fierce Sun ancient country. The Spirit Prison Venerate felt strained and found it hard to believe. At this moment, he was sure that Lin Yuan's method of bursting his right eye wasn't from an external force but stemmed from his own strength. Spirit Prison Venerate, still not running? Rounds of fierce suns hovered around Lin Yuan, and he himself transformed into an even larger fierce sun, illuminating the universe. Run! The spirit prison venerate felt aggrieved, but he knew that he indeed should run. If he continued, he would have to pay a price to take his leave. Galaxy venerate, you concealed your strength and prematurely ruined one of my spirit prisons. Otherwise, how would I have fallen behind? The spirit prison venerate's remaining eye stared at Lin Yuan, still somewhat unconvinced. If the right eye spirit prison remained, even if unable to defeat the galaxy venerate, neither of the two peak venerables could do much harm to each other, rather than ending in his own retreat. Two spirit prisons compared to one dictated a completely different strength for the spirit prison venerate. Of course, given the terrifying strength Lin Yuan displayed now, even if the spirit prison venerate's right eye were intact, it would still be difficult to overpower him. At most, it would be an equal stalemate. Get lost. Lin Yuan looked down and considered that with his current strength, forcibly keeping the spirit prison venerate would be challenging, and even with all his cards deployed, it would take a lot of time, and hope would be slim. During this span, various changes could happen, such as other peak venerables from the Daling ancient country coming to rescue him. Under such circumstances, it would lead to internal consumption between the fierce Sun ancient country and the Daling ancient country, benefiting the other four ancient countries. Lin Yuan certainly wouldn't choose to do so. Expelling the spirit prison venerate sufficed. In fact, had the spirit prison venerate not been unwilling and wanted to verify Lin Yuan's true strength, the two wouldn't have fought at all. Leave. The spirit prison venerate felt aggrieved, but he still maintained the remaining spirit prison realm to quickly flee. Though the spirit prison realm formed by his left eye wasn't vast, it was invincible and promptly broke through Lin Yuan's cosmic suppression, fleeing. As for the few peak venerables from the Daling ancient country at the beginning, they had already retreated far away. Once they sensed things were going awry, they immediately withdrew. Seeing this, Lin Yuan did not pursue further but returned to the core pillar below and immediately began refining it. These pillars are the core of the treasure grounds. By refining the pillars, can one somewhat control the treasure grounds? As the refinement continued, Lin Yuan faintly sensed the connection between this pillar and the treasure grounds. In the capital of the fierce Sun country, within an independent space. Embodied here were avatars of 12 peak venerables, including Red Flame Venerate and Venerable Wang Lin, gathered to communicate at any time. The consciousness shared between avatars and their true forms. Now, these 12 venerates dispersed throughout the newly born treasure grounds, relying on this avatar network to contact each other. Galaxy, why did the core pillar you found transmit the vibrations of a peak venerable battle? Red Flame Venerate immediately regarded Lin Yuan. The other peak venerables heard this and similarly turned their gaze. When two peak venerables fought with full force, most of the treasure grounds would perceive it. Even those who hadn't sensed it heard of it from friends. Galaxy, which peak venerable is battling the spirit prison? Venerable Wang Lin was equally curious. I could feel the aura and power of the peak venerable being scorching and fierce with the presence of fierce Sunday. But all 12 venerables from the fierce Sun ancient country are here. Venerable Hengyang also watched Lin Yuan, his expression revealing some suspicion as he, too, eyed Lin Yuan curiously. Well, the spirit prison venerate encountered me, and he lost his right eye spirit prison quickly. Lin Yuan spoke, his expression solemn as he explained. This statement caused immediate silence around him. Even though there were only 11 peak venerables, their hearts long sensed something. Is the galaxy venerate actually a peak venerable? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1204, Golden Mist, Request for Subscription, Galaxy, Your Strength? Red Flame Venerable looked at Lin Yuan, waves surging in his heart. Before opening his mouth to inquire, he had already speculated that it was Lin Yuan clashing with the spirit prison venerable. After all, that kind of intense fierce sun aura couldn't be faked. It was definitely the strength of a fierce Sun ancient country elite, and at that time in that area, only Lin Yuan came from the fierce Sun ancient country. Though the possibility seemed incredibly implausible, Is the galaxy venerate a top peak venerable? Yet it was the only possibility. Not long ago, there was a breakthrough, Lin Yuan said. This was also the truth. If he hadn't condensed the crucial seed of the fierce sun, forming a great circulation of fierce sun within, letting his strength change qualitatively, Lin Yuan at most would be at the same level as the Red Lotus Venerable. After all, Lin Yuan's real-life level currently was merely at the Dominion realm. Under the premise of not crossing major realms, it was difficult to suddenly go from a peak venerable to a top peak venerable. Ah, good. Venerable Guanglia laughed heartily, looking at Lin Yuan full of admiration. With you, Galaxy Venerate, now our fierce sun ancient country has 4 top peak venerables, and our means to compete for refining the core pillar are more. The top peak venerables of the major ancient countries surely exceed 4, but most top peak venerables, even the strongest peak venerables, are in seclusion, attempting to break through to the 13th stage. As for contending for the newly emerged treasure grounds, it's hard to attract these peak venerables. And the fierce sun ancient country can only deploy at any time 3 top peak venerables, namely Red Flame, Guanglia, and Hengyang. Other ancient countries are similar, only the Defu ancient country has slightly more. The fierce sun ancient country having an additional top peak venerable definitely enhances its foundation, perhaps not clear in the early stages, but in the later stages, when struggling against other ancient countries, it will be greatly useful. The Galaxy Venerate being able to shatter the Spirit Prison Venerate's right eye prison, in terms of killing power, is considered strong among top peak venerables. Venerable Hengyang contemplated as he looked at Lin Yuan. He had clashed with Spirit Prison Venerate, clear on the other party's methods, even if he underestimated Lin Yuan, capturing him in the right eye prison, to shatter it? Still very difficult. Unless the instant killing power exceeds the limit of what the prison can bear, or else any delay would allow the Spirit Prison Venerate the opportunity to eject Lin Yuan from within. It was fortunate, Lin Yuan said. The stronger the Galaxy Venerate, the more favorable for us in competing for the treasure ground, Red Flame Venerable smiled. He never expected that Lin Yuan, whom the Emperor had inserted, would bring him such a surprise. The other peak venerables looked at Lin Yuan with complex expressions. Originally, Lin Yuan was on the same level as them. Now he is a top peak venerable? Galaxy Venerate. Was I evenly matched with him in sparring? Red Lotus Venerable looked at Lin Yuan, his mind filled with thoughts. Not long ago, he had sparred with Lin Yuan, then still amazed at the Galaxy Venerate's strength. Yet how long had passed, now it was tough to spar with, even defending oneself against the Galaxy Venerate was considered fortunate. That core pillar of the treasure ground is close to complete refinement. Lin Yuan looked towards Red Flame Venerable, Venerable Hengyang, and Venerable Guanglia and said, according to the initial plan, all discovered core pillars of the treasure grounds should best be refined by the top peak venerables. As for the other peak venerables, they primarily focused on guarding the core pillars of the treasure grounds. Since you, Galaxy, are also a top peak venerable, any discovered core pillar of the treasure ground can also be refined by yourself, Red Flame Venerable nodded and said. All right. Lin Yuan slightly stirred his mind. The true body located before the core pillar immediately refined the remaining section of the pillar completely. But, at the moment of refinement, Lin Yuan faintly established a connection with this core pillar. Now, as long as I'm within this treasure ground range, I can instantly arrive at this core pillar's side? Lin Yuan thought to himself. Red Flame Venerable and others formulated the plan for top peak venerables to refine the core pillars based on this ability. With the strongest power as top peak venerables, them refining the core pillars enabled them to instantly arrive beside any core pillar, greatly maximizing the protection of the pillar. Of course, this instant arrival must be under stable time-space conditions. If engaged in fierce battle with other powerhouses and the surrounding time and space collapses, using the core pillar to escape or arrive would be impossible. Earlier, the Spirit Prison Venerate leading numerous peak venerables in exploring the core pillars was also for those peak venerables to refine the outer area of core pillars, leaving the deepest section for himself to refine, thus achieving the highest efficiency. Simultaneously, I can feel this treasure ground suppression on me lessen somewhat. Lin Yuan looked around. Completely refining this core pillar made him detect numerous changes. Originally divine ability world could only meticulously probe within 100 billion miles range around. But now, the probing range has increased by approximately 10%. This probing is in-depth, capable of discovering the type of core pillar probing. It can be assumed that the more core pillars refined, the larger the probing range. Daling Capital. A projection of the spirit prison venerates sat here. The other 11 figures looked incredulously at the spirit prison venerate. Spirit prison? You're saying it was the galaxy venerate from the fierce sun ancient country who fought with you? Not one of the red flame venerable Guang Lin, or venerable Hengyang? Lingon venerable sage frowned deeply, originally thinking it was one from the red flame venerable trio who acted. He hadn't expected it to be galaxy venerate. Lingon venerable sage never considered galaxy venerate noteworthy. Despite being a venerate of the first ancestral bloodline, the growth time was too short. Yes. That galaxy venerate is a top peak venerable. Spirit prison venerate confirmed. My right eye prison was destroyed by that galaxy venerate, leaving my strength no longer at its peak. What should we do then? The third top-tier peak venerable asked. Spirit prison venerable is crucial to our quest for the treasure grounds. By trapping many peak venerables in the spirit prison, it weakens the ancient country's ability to search for the core galactic pillars, indirectly increasing Daling ancient country's chances of finding more core pillars. I plan to use that rare artifact to quickly restore my right eye spirit prison. Spirit prison venerable pondered for a moment and said in a low voice. That rare artifact? Lingon venerable sage's expression slightly changed. The 12 peak venerables of Daling ancient country carried some heritage rare artifacts bestowed by the ancient countries before entering the treasure grounds. These heritage rare artifacts are extremely precious and must not be used unless absolutely necessary. But now, Spirit Prison Venerable's right eye was damaged, greatly reducing the efficiency of Daling ancient country's search for the core galactic pillars. Very well then. As long as Spirit Prison quickly recovers, using up those rare artifacts is worthwhile. Lingon Venerable Sage said cautiously, slowly. If the time to compete for the treasure grounds wasn't so tight, just 2,000 years, Spirit Prison Venerable would not have the opportunity to use that rare artifact. If his right eye spirit prison collapsed, it could slowly recover. As time passed, the news about Galaxy Venerate being a top-tier peak venerable quickly spread among the peak venerables within the treasure grounds. It couldn't be concealed, after all, there are only a dozen or 20 top-tier peak venerables, making it easy to pinpoint a specific range, and Daling ancient country had no intention of hiding it either. Galaxy Venerate? The first aristocrat to elevate the bloodline to the Venerate level? In the Defu ancient country, Fu Su Venerate, dressed in dark robes, fell into contemplation. He wasn't very interested in Lin Yuan reaching top-tier peak venerable strength, but valued the supreme ancestor bloodline at the venerate level more. Even with your strength, Fu Su, even if Galaxy grows to the limit, he might not be a match for you. Beside him, a top-tier peak venerable spoke. Fu Su Venerate had already trained one of the highest legacies left by the ancestor to a deep level. His strength was formidable. Not saying the 6 ancient countries' history strongest, but among the strongest few. The 6 ancient countries have been passed down through endless ages, and even within the oldest Defu ancient country, in the Venerate level ranks, Fu Su Venerate almost stood at the summit. Beyond that involves the power of the 13th tier. It's uncertain after all, it's the ancestral bloodline. Who knows if there might be some evolution in the future? Fu Su Venerate smiled slightly, speaking casually. Evolution? The top-tier peak venerable from Defu ancient country raised an eyebrow. Although he didn't quite agree, he didn't refute either. Since it involved the ancestral bloodline, related to the supreme ancestors, even if the source of Galaxy Venerate's ancestral bloodline was not Defu ancestor, but fierce sun ancestor. But discussing ancestors is forbidden, it's a strict rule. Alright, let's quickly search for the core galactic pillars. Fu Su Venerate said calmly. Yes. The top-tier peak venerable from Defu nodded. Galaxy, his strength? In the capital of fierce sun ancient country, the Imperial Palace. The Emperor also received this news, shocked by Lin Yuan's strength. The Emperor knew his own affairs well. He was clear that Lin Yuan, decades or even centuries ago, wasn't even a venerate. Yet now he suddenly stepped into the top-tier peak venerable realm? Fortunately, the Emperor of fierce sun ancient country murmured to himself, fortunate that back then he was rather good to Lin Yuan, effectively drawing him over. Inside the treasure grounds. After Lin Yuan refined that core galactic pillar, he left a few avatars to guard it, while his true self continued to search in another direction. Suddenly, Lin Yuan stopped, looking towards a certain direction. There was a valley from which golden mist seemed to flow faintly. Lin Yuan stepped forward, arriving outside the valley, gazing at the golden mist flowing within. The mist within the valley, is it the rare treasure birthed by this treasure ground? Lin Yuan pondered to himself, the aura of the golden mist faintly connected to the entire treasure ground, resembling a fruit on a tree, filled with a peculiar energy. Let me see. Lin Yuan extended his right hand, gathered a wisp of golden mist, and began to observe it closely. Every first-class treasure ground births rare treasures with different effects, like Heiyu from Heiyu Nest that enhances mental willpower, or the infinite crystal from the infinite eye that grants the infinite divine body. This mist, Lin Yuan observed intently, his expression gradually shifting. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1205 Killer Move Fierce Sunfall. Seeking subscription, Lin Yuan slightly studied the golden mist and discovered its extraordinary nature. The golden mist appeared cloud-like and could be captured and confined, but Lin Yuan could not touch it. Unable to touch? Lin Yuan's gaze was curious. The divine ability world operated constantly, with layers of time and space under his control, yet he couldn't truly make contact with the golden mist. Interesting. Lin Yuan extended his right hand, ready to take all the golden mist in the valley. To ensure the golden mist wasn't damaged, Lin Yuan even moved the entire valley into his internal universe. It should be related to time. Lin Yuan looked at the golden mist and thought to himself. He could sense slight time fluctuations emanating from the golden mist, and coupled with the time reversal area outside the treasure site, it was almost certain that this newly emerged first-class treasure site was inclined towards time attributes. In fact, various ancient countries also speculated that the miraculous treasures born here would be related to time. Should I attempt a soul and mind probe? Lin Yuan pondered silently. Many of the miraculous treasures birthed from treasure sites must be absorbed and devoured through special means. For instance, the Heiyu Nes Heiyu can only be refined with the will of the mind. As for others? There was simply no reaction. Forget it, it's too risky. After a brief contemplation, Lin Yuan abandoned this idea. The soul and mind are too important. What if this golden miraculous treasure has some side effects or harm on them? It would be courting disaster. Lin Yuan dared to refine Heiyu with his will because the Heiyu nest had existed for countless eons, and the miraculous Heiyu it nurtured had refining methods verified by numerous heavenly venerates, ensuring no hidden dangers. And this golden mist? Who knows what effects it might have? Lin Yuan had no need to rush. If he could acquire the golden mist within this valley, the peak venerables of other ancient countries surely could as well. Compared to the experienced peak venerables of the 6 ancient countries, Lin Yuan reckoned it better to wait for the correct method of using the golden mist to be discovered before trying it himself. Continue to search for the core pillar. Lin Yuan did not linger long in front of the valley and, after collecting all the golden mist, continued to explore in the directed path. Fierce Sun Capital, isolated space. Red Lotus Venerable opened his eyes once more. I found another core pillar. With these words, the surrounding peak venerables all turned to look at him. Within the treasure site, searching for core pillars truly depended on luck. Red Lotus Venerable's probing skills weren't strong among the 12 peak venerables, but the number of core venerables he found ranked in the top 5, even top 3. Where is it located? You refine the outer part first. Red Flame Venerable said. While it's true that core pillars are usually left for the top-tier peak venerables to refine, if they haven't arrived yet, surely the peak venerable who found it first would start refining a part. It's here. Red Lotus Venerable immediately provided a coordinate, his expression suddenly changing. Other ancient countries' peak venerables are coming. It's the peak venerable from Defu ancient country. Peak venerable from Defu ancient country? Red Flame Venerable frowned, immediately asking, which peak venerable is it? If it were a top-tier peak venerable, Red Flame Venerable would suggest Red Lotus Venerable yield that core pillar. It wasn't about fearing Defu ancient country, but with Red Lotus Venerable's strength, he wouldn't last long before a top-tier peak venerable from Defu ancient country. Unless Red Lotus Venerable, like Lin Yuan, hid the strength of a top-tier peak venerable, but that possibility was too low. It's Fu Dang Venerate. Red Lotus Venerable quickly responded. Defu ancient country had sent 12 peak venerables, all of whom he understood well, even if they hadn't crossed paths. He had also seen detailed intelligence on them. Fu Dang Venerate? Red Flame Venerable felt assured. Among the 12 peak venerables of Defu ancient country, Fu Dang Venerate's strength was mid-level, close to the top-tier peak venerable tier, stronger than Red Lotus Venerable but not by much. Guard the core pillar. Red Flame Venerable said. Though Defu ancient country was powerful, it didn't mean Fierce Sun ancient country feared them. Unless it was Fu Su Venerate or a few top-tier peak venerables, Fierce Sun ancient country had no reason to retreat. Involving the ownership of this first-class treasure site, with a chance of winning, they had to contend. All right. Red Lotus Venerable nodded. Although Fu Dang Venerate was stronger, it wasn't about winning or losing against him, merely holding him off. Red Lotus Venerable was confident enough. This location. Red Flame Venerable looked towards Lin Yuan. Galaxy, among the 4 of us, you are closest to this location. Next up, it's on you. Understood. Lin Yuan nodded. As one of the only 4 top-tier peak venerables in Fierce Sun ancient country, Lin Yuan also bore the task of refining the core pillar. If other peak venerables of Fierce Sun ancient country discovered a core pillar close to him, Lin Yuan needed to make a trip. Where is Red Lotus there? Within the treasure site, Lin Yuan suddenly stopped and looked in another direction from afar. Swish. The next moment, Lin Yuan's figure vanished, and it was only moments later that space-time rippled. Normally when searching for the core pillar, one would have to fly and search slowly. But to quickly reach a certain coordinate, naturally, one would travel directly through the void. The majestic pillars seemed illusory. Red Lotus Venerable stood before the pillar, looking solemn, with scarlet lotus flames burning around him. Red Lotus, yield this core pillar. Search the novel Fire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1206 Killer Move Fierce Sun Fall, seeking subscription, _2 A cold voice echoed through the void. In the distance stood a towering figure, its skin covered in purple scales, none other than Venerate Fu Dang of Defu ancient country. Among the 12 peak venerables sent by Defu ancient country, the strongest was Fu Su Venerate, one of the most powerful venerables in the history of the 6 ancient countries, having mastered a supreme inheritance. Below Fu Su Venerate were 4 top-tier peak venerables, and Venerate Fu Dang was at the 3rd level among them. Fu Dang, who do you think you are? A top-tier peak venerable? Or Fu Su Venerate? Red Lotus Venerable mocked. At the same time, stalling for time. Dealing with you is enough. Venerate Fu Dang's gaze was icy, and he swung his right hand, slashing towards Red Lotus Venerable from afar. Red Lotus Venerable felt a great threat, and without a trace of contempt, immediately activated a defensive killing move. Clusters of Red Lotus flames began to boil, rotating around him. Hiss hiss hiss, the next moment. The protective red lotus of Red Lotus Venerable began to collapse, rapidly dissipating under a single attack from Venerate Fu Dang. So strong. Red Lotus Venerable felt the pressure. With just one exchange, half of his protective red lotus had already crumbled, making him doubt whether he could hold out until Lin Yuan arrived. No matter what, this core celestial pillar must be defended. Red Lotus Venerable gritted his teeth inside. The core celestial pillar was crucial to the ownership of this precious land. Perhaps the fierce Sun ancient country needed just one more core celestial pillar to claim this treasure? Break! Venerate Fu Dang continued to attack, with each strike shattering a portion of Red Lotus Venerable's protective red lotus, but soon more red lotuses would coalesce. This red lotus is risking everything against me. Venerate Fu Dang clearly understood that Red Lotus Venerable's rapid coalescing of the dissipated protective red lotus could not come without a price. So what if you're risking everything? Venerate Fu Dang's eyes were filled with purple, the power of each strike rapidly increasing. Originally, one strike could collapse half of Red Lotus Venerable's protective red lotus. Now it was shattering half or even the majority. Can't hold on much longer. Red Lotus Venerable sighed inwardly. In terms of strength, he was no match for Venerate Fu Dang. Now, to protect the core celestial pillar behind him, it was as if he was standing as a target for Venerate Fu Dang's attacks. Under such circumstances, holding out until now was already remarkable. Once Venerate Fu Dang's strike completely obliterates my protective red lotus, it will mean the fall of my primary battle form. Red Lotus Venerable thought to himself. In a normal confrontation, he would naturally have the confidence to retreat unharmed from Venerate Fu Dang's hands. But now it wasn't a normal fight. Red Lotus Venerable was taking blows unilaterally, refusing to retreat. Die now. Venerate Fu Dang's aura burst, purple energy swirling around him, preparing to unleash a shocking strike. Just at this moment, time and space in the distance subtly warped, and a figure silently emerged. Galaxy Venerate is here? Red Lotus Venerable's heart leapt with joy. Galaxy Venerate? Venerate Fu Dang's heart skipped a beat. He had heard of Galaxy Venerate's reputation, who had incapacitated one of Spirit Prison Venerable's spirit prisons, possessing the strength of a top-tier peak Venerable. Even if Galaxy Venerate is here, you must still die. Venerate Fu Dang was truly furious. If Red Lotus Venerable hadn't fought death-defyingly, he might have already taken the core celestial pillar. Lin Yuan had just arrived nearby and saw Venerate Fu Dang pressing Red Lotus Venerable hard. Red Lotus Venerable seemed like a lone boat on the verge of capsizing under Venerate Fu Dang's attack. Whoosh! The divine skills world operated, and the external universe instantly spread, turning a billion miles area into his domain in an instant. Venerate Fu Dang was quickly suppressed by the vast external universe, the purple world swirling around him continuously shrinking. Venerate Fu Dang's pupils contracted. At this moment, he completely lost control over the surrounding spacetime. Galaxy Venerate's domain suppression is so powerful? Venerate Fu Dang was utterly panicked. Deling ancient country did circulate some intelligence on Lin Yuan, mentioning that this Galaxy Venerate had strong domain suppression techniques. But Venerate Fu Dang never imagined it would be this strong, suppressing him instantly upon arrival. Since you've arrived, Galaxy Venerate, my Defu ancient country will cede this core celestial pillar. Venerate Fu Dang immediately shouted loudly. At this moment, he felt unprecedented pressure from Lin Yuan. Even among the top 4 peak venerables of Defu ancient country, only 2 could exert such pressure on him. You must understand, the Defu ancient country occupies the most first-class treasure lands, enjoying the best resources among the 6 ancient countries. In terms of strength, Defu's power surpasses the other 5. Therefore, upon assessing the current situation, Fu Dang Venerate had only one thought in mind, which was to retreat immediately. Swish! Before Fu Dang Venerate could finish his words, he was already urging the purple intent world, fleeing into the distance. Under the cosmic suppression of Lin Yuan, Fu Dang Venerate couldn't engage in void traversal. Trying to leave? Lin Yuan glanced afar and immediately discerned Venerate Lin Fudong's intentions. Spirit prison could leave because killing him was too bothersome, but as for you. Lin Yuan's gaze fell upon the purple intent world, and he thought to himself, perfect opportunity to test my newly comprehended killer move. In a flash, high above the external universe, rounds of fierce suns began to coalesce. These fierce suns levitated slowly, and one suddenly began to plummet towards the escaping purple intent world. As the first fierce sun fell, the second, third, and fourth followed suit. This killer move is named Fierce Sun Fall, one of the most potent moves Lin Yuan has comprehended, second only to detonating the external universe. Detonating the external universe is undoubtedly terrifying in power, but it briefly weakens Lin Yuan afterward. By contrast, Fierce Sun Fall lacks such a risk, though slightly less powerful, it excels in persistence. Boom, 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 boom. When the first fierce sun struck Fu Dang Venerate, this peak venerable could barely hold on. But by the time the 200th, 300th, and 400th fierce suns had struck, Fu Dang Venerate's surrounding purple intent world rapidly collapsed. Galaxy Venerate. Fu Dang Venerate suddenly turned, fixing a fierce gaze on Lin Yuan before his body and soul were completely obliterated by the 2000th, 3000th falling fierce suns. Only held until the 3000th round? Lin Yuan shook his head slightly. Theoretically, this killer move could unleash a total of 33,463 fierce suns. Late arrival. Having resolved Fu Dang Venerate, Lin Yuan gathered his relics and approached Fu Dang Venerate, speaking up. Not late. Red Lotus Venerate appeared a bit dazed. He had struggled immensely under Fu Dang Venerate's attack, yet Fu Dang Venerate couldn't endure as long before Galaxy Venerate. Actually, it wasn't about enduring. Fu Dang Venerate hadn't considered endurance at all. He intended to flee right away but couldn't. Venerate, you refine the core pillar first. Red Lotus Venerate immediately stepped aside, with the core pillar behind him. All right. Lin Yuan didn't refuse. This was the main task. Independent space. Red Flame Venerate looked at Lin Yuan in surprise. Did you kill Fu Dang Venerate? Fu Dang Venerate, close to the level of a top peak venerable, could preserve himself even against top peak venerables unless determined to fight to the finish. Comprehended a killer move, somewhat restrained him. Lin Yuan explained. Simply put, the killer move Fierce Sunfall restrains any venerate below top peak venerable. Unless one can completely resist round after round of falling fierce suns, no peak venerate can withstand 3,000–4,000 rounds. Even top peak venerables must allocate some focus to resist 3,000–4,000 rounds of falling fierce suns. Restrain. Red Flame Venerate gazed deeply at Lin Yuan. As a peak venerate, his methods and abilities were nearly perfect, almost immune to restraint. Next. Lin Yuan continued to contest for core pillars within the treasure lands, amidst clashes with powerhouses from other ancient nations. Galaxy Venerate's renown spread thoroughly. On this day, within the independent space of Fierce Sun Country's capital, Red Flame Venerate suddenly looked at the other 11 peak venerables, a smile appearing on his face. Everyone. Red Flame Venerate smiled and said, "It's been explored how to use and absorb the golden mists the treasure lands nurture." Search the novel Fire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1207. A millennium passes, subscription requested. How should we use the golden mist? Immediately, the eyes of the surrounding peak venerables lit up. During the time spent in this treasure land, all the peak venerables have been primarily focused on searching for the core heavenly pillar. But during this period they have more or less acquired some golden mist. This golden mist is connected with the aura of the entire treasure land, clearly a rare treasure nurtured by it. As a newly formed treasure land, the rare treasures it nurtures have never appeared in the 6 ancient countries, so naturally, No one knows their effects and uses. They can only explore slowly. That golden mist. Lin Yuan was also very concerned, as his external cosmos could probe every detail within a range of over 10 billion miles, and he had collected quite a bit of the golden mist. The golden mist contains the origin power of time. Do not contact it with your soul or mind, otherwise, you may be forced into a time cycle. Red Flame Venerable warned seriously. The peak venerables have perfected their realms, and with a single thought, they can attempt to break through to the 13th stage, bringing about the time cycle. However, the peak venerables have always suppressed the idea of breaking through to the 13th stage, so the time cycle hasn't descended upon them. Once they contact the golden mist with the minds will, no matter how much they suppress it, they will be forced to break through to the 13th stage. Time cycle? Red Lotus Venerable and the other peak venerables were filled with fear. Most of the peak venerables will eventually attempt to break through to the 13th stage ancestor realm, but that's the plan when they have no further progress to make. As for now, many peak venerables still intend to wait a bit longer. Entering the time cycle prematurely? Listening on the side, Lin Yuan was slightly moved. Other peak venerables, when contacting the golden mist with their will, would fall into a time cycle because their realms are already perfected. But Lin Yuan? His true realm was still at the dominator stage, far from the perfect chaos realm necessary to break through to the 13th stage. If Lin Yuan contacts the golden mist with his will, it's estimated he wouldn't bring about a time cycle since his realm hasn't reached that point. Thankfully, I didn't try it back then. Lin Yuan thought to himself, even though he doesn't need to worry about entering a time cycle prematurely, who knows if there are other hidden risks besides this one. As for how to use the golden mist? So far, slowly absorbing it with the physical body is best. The golden mist will gradually transform the physical body, forming a certain time-based physique. Red Flame Venerable said. This conclusion was reached after many attempts by the fierce Sun ancient country. They even had a venerable enter a time cycle prematurely for this reason. Slowly absorbing with the physical body? To transform into a time-based physique? Many peak venerables seemed thoughtful, as this effect was similar to that of the infinite crystal. However, the infinite divine body transformed by the infinite crystal focuses on inclusiveness, capable of accommodating any other physique, whereas the physique transformed by the golden mist is yet unknown in its effects. Red Flame Venerable gave a few more reminders and then remained silent. I'll wait a bit longer and refrain from absorbing the golden mist for now. After thinking about it, Lin Yuan decided not to immediately absorb the golden mist with his body. After all, the golden mist he collected remains there. He can choose to absorb it at any time. It's better to wait until other peak venerables try it and see the results to determine how to use it correctly. And according to Red Flame Venerable, the golden mist can only be slowly absorbed by the physical body. As for completely transforming into the corresponding physique, no one knows how much golden mist is needed. Chaos Void. Galaxy Chaos Continent. Since the great saint of the galaxy established the Chaos Continent, powerful figures from thousands, tens of thousands, and hundreds of thousands of void domains in the surrounding area have been arriving here one after another. This is very normal. The Chaos Great Saint's fame in the Chaos Void attracts numerous Chaos Realm venerable beings, all with different intentions. Some purely wish to witness this Chaos Great Saint. Some plan to follow this Chaos Great Saint and so on. Others see the gathering of numerous venerable beings at the Galaxy Chaos Continent and knowing they can't attract the attention of the Great Saint of the Galaxy, plan to make good relationships with these venerable beings. That is the Chaos Continent established by the Great Saint of the Galaxy. In a silver spaceship, a gray-haired old man looked at the distant majestic continent and said to the young men and women beside him, "The Great Saint of the Galaxy?" These young men and women also looked at the distant Galaxy Chaos Continent. "Sect Master, what is special about this Great Saint of the Galaxy? Why do you intend to move the sect here?" The gray-haired old man is a Chaos Realm Peak Venerable, who also once opened a Chaos Continent, eventually establishing an influential legacy. The gray-haired old man had followed several Chaos Great Saints but ultimately left them all. He now plans to bring the sect's elite to reside permanently on the Galaxy Chaos continent. The Great Saint of the Galaxy is not an ordinary Chaos Great Saint. The gray-haired old man said with a smile. In that postnatal universe, the Great Saint of the Galaxy left Black Light Great Saint and Wild Barbarian Great Saint far behind with an overwhelming advantage. Even if not matching the invincible Great Saints, he is not far behind. Not far behind the invincible Great Saints? The young men and women were shocked. Even the same information leads to different conclusions when seen by different levels of strong individuals. The gray-haired old man had evidently deduced the true strength limit of the Great Saint of the Galaxy from the intelligence information. In a distant time and space, 3 figures stood silently. The mere presence of these 3 figures caused the surrounding chaos rule to retreat. That Galaxy Great Saint, being the only one to walk out alive from the Xianhuang universe in a complete chaos realm, might obtain some opportunities left by Xianhuang. The leading figure spoke. All 3 figures were invincible Great Saints, all incredibly ancient, aware of the existence of Xianhuang. Xianhuang had forcibly broken free from the time cycle, completely annihilating 5 invincible Great Saints, causing many hidden invincible Great Saints to tremble. That was invincible Great Saints. In the history of the Chaos Void, battles between invincible Great Saints sometimes occurred, where one would fall. Yet this fall was merely the demise of the main battle body, not the end of the invincible Great Saint itself. To completely annihilate an invincible Great Saint, destroying all forms and erasing all means of survival, was incredibly difficult, something even invincible Great Saints couldn't achieve. This Chaos continent requires at least 9th realm insights in space-time to be established. At this moment, the invincible Great Saint on the right spoke. 9th realm insights into space-time? Even if it's not an invincible Great Saint, we cannot do anything to them. The invincible Great Saint on the right said. An entity at the Chaos Great Saint level reaching 9th realm insights into space-time is exceedingly rare, rarer than invincible Great Saints. Even such a Chaos Great Saint, though not yet a match for invincible Great Saints, could easily retreat unscathed. Indeed. The last invincible Great Saint shook his head. The 3 invincible Great Saints originally intended to find the Galaxy Great Saint and inquire about the happenings within the Xianhuang universe. But now it seems, there is no need. Unable to do anything to the opponent, even if they were to inquire, they wouldn't get the truth. Forget it. Best not to make enemies. The leading invincible Great Saint pondered carefully and made a decision in his heart. If the Galaxy Great Saint were just an ordinary Chaos Great Saint, they could naturally handle it as they wished. But now, the Galaxy Great Saint already had the confidence to oppose them, and the 3 invincible Great Saints were unwilling to make enemies without understanding what opportunities the Galaxy Great Saint might have obtained from Xianhuang. If they speculated wrongly and the Galaxy Great Saint had not obtained much opportunity, they would gain another enemy. Invincible Great Saints are extremely cautious when dealing with equally powerful beings, just like Great Saint Hunshao and Jade Qilin Great Saint, who waited until Xianhuang attempted to break through the 13th level before retaliating heavily against the profound Xianhuang lineage. Let's go! The 3 invincible Great Saints took one last look at the distant Chaos continent and vanished. They left. Deep within the Galaxy Chaos continent, Lin Yuan glanced in the direction the 3 invincible Great Saints disappeared. These Chaos Great Saints only knew that Lin Yuan's space-time insights had reached the 9th realm, but were unaware of Lin Yuan's current true combat strength, which could be considered strong even among invincible Great Saints. With Lin Yuan's perception, he detected the approaching 3 invincible Great Saints instantly. My current strength has been surpassed by the true form in the origin source world. Lin Yuan thought to himself, as the true form in the origin source world had formed a fierce sun great cycle within, first surpassing the true form in the chaos void. There was no way around it. The true form in the origin source world had a complete 13th level time life inheritance and the integration of chaos void 13th level inheritance. Meanwhile, the true form in the chaos void couldn't form the seed of the fierce sun, leading to a lack of corresponding enhancement. Once infinite void is mastered to the third level, the gap between the two true forms may be narrowed or even erased. Lin Yuan contemplated. The 13th level inheritance infinite void would significantly enhance both the chaos void and origin source world true forms once mastered to the third level. However, the extent of enhancement would naturally be greater for the true form in the chaos void. After all, the chaos void's true form had a cosmic foundation surpassing that of the origin source world true form. Different starting points in the internal universe lead to different enhancements once infinite void is mastered to the third level. Or stepping into the chaos realm might work. The differing foundational depths in their internal worlds result in varying enhancement upon entering the chaos realm. Clearly, the true form in the chaos void stands to gain more than the true form in the origin source world. I'll take it slow, there is still much for me to improve. Compared to other great saint venerables who have reached their limits, Lin Yuan was still far from his own limit. Besides mastering infinite void and stepping into the chaos realm, evolving the chaos taiji power could also greatly enhance Lin Yuan. In addition, many supreme secret techniques passed down by the ancestor of the fierce Sun ancient country, also known as 13th level inheritance, were yet to be practiced by Lin Yuan. And so, time passed slowly. A millennium was gone in the blink of an eye. Search the novel Fire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1208, Third Realm. The heavenly pillar descending from the sky. Please subscribe. 1,000 years for a 12th layer life form is but a fleeting moment. The galactic chaos continent becomes increasingly prosperous, frequently visited even by strong beings at the level of the chaos great saints seeking Lin Yuan. Occasionally, chaos great saints would exchange insights, validating the chaotic paths they had evolved, something Lin Yuan valued greatly. Based on chaos as the foundation, the paths of power evolved, though varied in strength, are essentially part of the Tao. Lin Yuan's observation of other chaotic evolution paths also supplements his understanding of the Great Tao. Deep within the galactic chaos continent, Lin Yuan sat cross-legged. In front of him, strands of chaos chi constantly formed secret patterns, only to dissipate quickly after a brief moment. After dissipating, they would continue to condense again, repeating perpetually as if without end. Chaos rule. Lin Yuan immersed himself in circulating the chaos chi, focusing part of his mind on comprehending the chaos mystic pattern diagram. The chaos mystic pattern diagram, gathered by the ancestor of the fierce sun of the 13th layer in the Feng Yuan world with great divine skills, contains the essential threads of the chaos rule. It is one of Lin Yuan's main objects of comprehension. So that's how it is. Unaware of how much time had passed, Lin Yuan silently opened his eyes, a deep gaze with brewing chaos energy, and the mystic pattern diagram composed of chaos chi before him rapidly became complete and clear. If a heavenly venerate from the fierce sun ancient country were to watch, they would find this chaos mystic pattern diagram nearly identical to the 28th chaos mystic pattern diagram. There are a total of 81 chaos mystic pattern diagrams passed down by the ancestor of the fierce sun. Those representing the chaos first realm are the first 8 diagrams. The diagrams from the 9th to the 27th represent the chaos second realm. The 28th chaos mystic pattern diagram marks the field of the chaos third realm. Now that Lin Yuan briefly replicated the 27th chaos mystic pattern diagram, it signifies that in his understanding of the chaos rule, he has fully entered the third realm. Chaos evolves all things. Lin Yuan was invigorated. After reaching the third realm of chaos comprehension, he gained a clearer understanding of the essence of all things. The basic structure of the chaos void, the process of chaos evolution, to Lin Yuan, was as clear as turning over his hand to view a pattern. All things will return to chaos again. Lin Yuan's gaze was profound, looking into the vast chaos void. At this moment, Lin Yuan's realm elevated infinitely, as if seeing countless millions of cosmic eras rotate in the chaos void, and there will eventually come a day when the whole chaos void will undergo a great collapse like the innate cosmos. Everything in the chaos void will return to chaos. Not only the chaos void, but the origin world is like this as well. Lin Yuan thought to himself, though he wasn't worried, as the existence of the chaos void and the origin world are so massive, their cycles of destruction are too lengthy enough that even the lifetime of an invincible great saint is but a speck in the ocean. Chaos rule third realm. A smile appeared on Lin Yuan's face. 1,000 years of arduous cultivation had pushed his comprehension of the chaos rule further, which wasn't beyond his expectations. The chaos mystic pattern diagram's aid in understanding the chaos rule was immense, as it was virtually a shortcut, or rather, even more convenient than a shortcut. This was also the feedback from the 13th layer ancestors of the 6 ancient countries in the Feng Yuan world to their descendants and living beings. In the chaos void, invincible great saints, who are seldom born even in tens or millions of cosmic eras, are present in every era of the 6 ancient countries. For instance, the Fu Su venerate in the Defu ancient country, who possesses the battle strength akin to an invincible great saint of the chaos void, is not alone there. It's not that the beings of the chaos void are inferior to those of the origin world, but rather that the attitude of the 12th layer lives in the two-dimensional worlds towards lower-level beings is different. The 13th layer ancestors of the origin world tend to value them greatly, even worry over them extensively, whereas the 13th layer time lives of the chaos void are somewhat laissez-faire. If the 13th layer time lives of the chaos void left many legacies and provided opportunities like possessions, it's believed that the chaos void would also birth invincible great saints. My power, Lin Yuan carefully sensed for a while. Reaching the chaos rule third realm. For Lin Yuan, the direct enhancement in strength isn't too significant or exaggerated. But the indirect enhancement is immeasurable. Firstly, there's the evolution of the chaotic Taiji Dao. At this moment, Lin Yuan clearly perceives that the time for the giant egg gestating within his internal universe to fully evolve the chaotic Taiji Dao is essentially within 10 years. 10 years. Lin Yuan was excited. The Chaos Taiyin Taiyang Taiji Dao has been the path he chose since the second layer, which can be said to be the final Tao fruit he has been cultivating all along. This Tao fruit did not disappoint Lin Yuan. While other great saints and great lords need only the Chaos First Realm to evolve their chaotic power paths, the chaotic Taiji Dao requires the pinnacle of the Chaos Second Realm to reach the threshold of evolution. This is already due to Lin Yuan's extraordinary insight. If it were other strong beings, they probably wouldn't start evolving until they reached a third realm comprehension of chaos. Chaos rule third realm? Only starting to evolve the chaotic power path then? For a chaos great saint, this isn't a good thing. Because the chaos third realm is extremely difficult to reach, and before evolving the chaotic power path, no matter how high the rule comprehension is, it is equivalent to a peak venerate. Even in the 6 ancient countries where rule comprehension is easier, generally, only the top peak venerables can achieve the third realm of chaos rule comprehension. And without evolving the chaotic power path, one isn't even a great lord, making the transition exceedingly difficult. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1209. Third Realm, the Heavenly Pillar Descending from the Sky. Please subscribe. _2 That is Lin Yuan. Although he has not followed the path of chaos rule evolution, his foundation in other aspects is so strong that it compensates for the gap in chaos rule evolution power with the other great saint venerables. The third realm of chaos rule, in addition to significantly accelerating the evolution of the chaotic Taiji Dao. It also has a profound impact in other areas, such as the time to step into the chaos realm. Currently, what restrains Lin Yuan from breaking through to the chaos realm is that all aspects have not yet reached their limit. Like the breakthrough of the flesh, the universe within the soul body, and so on. And as chaos nurtures all things, the chaos rule of the third realm allows Lin Yuan to improve rapidly in all aspects. In addition, it also helps in the cultivation of the third layer of infinite void, as higher-level insights into chaos rule of the basic cosmic structure become easier and more relaxed. In the source world, within the treasure land, Lin Yuan's true self did not search for the central core pillars of the treasure land. In the span of 1,000 years, 70 to 80 peak venerable level powerhouses from 6 major ancient countries continuously searched and have basically already refined the core pillars. The current ranking of core pillar refinement for each major ancient country is as follows. Defu Ancient Country, 72 pillars. Barbaric Wilderness Country, 54 pillars. Fierce Sun Ancient Country, 52 pillars. Deling Ancient Country, 45 pillars. Thunderclap Ancient Country, 38 pillars. Xianin Ancient Country, 38 pillars. The ranking for refining core pillars among the ancient countries, with Defu Ancient Country indisputably in first place. This did not come as a surprise to the numerous peak venerables, since with Fu Su Venerable of Defu Ancient Country making a move, the top peak venerables from other ancient countries would generally yield. Even though these top peak venerables carry their respective ancient countries' trump cards, they won't use them lightly. This barbaric wilderness country, Lin Yuan's expression displayed slight surprise, as the peak venerables of barbaric wilderness country were utterly desperate in competing for the core pillars, to the point that the red flame venerable had to repeatedly give up the discovered core pillars. The top peak venerables of barbaric wilderness country only retreat slightly when they encounter Fu Su Venerable. But when facing the top peak venerables of other ancient countries, they have a do-or-die attitude. However, this first-class treasure land, the number of core pillars actually exceeds 300. Lin Yuan's expression became slightly solemn. Based on previously learned information, the usual number of core pillars for first-class treasure lands is about 100 to 200. 300? Very rare. Among the currently known first-class treasure lands, only 6 had core numbers surpassing 300 when they first emerged. 300 core pillars. There should also be giant core pillars completely integrated into space-time within this treasure land. Lin Yuan thought to himself, deducing this conclusion from those 6 treasure lands, each had a giant treasure land core appear at that time. A giant treasure land core far surpasses regular ones, equivalent to 10 ordinary treasure land cores. But unlike ordinary ones, a giant core completely melds with the time-space of the treasure land, impossible to detect no matter how it's searched, only appearing after all cores have been refined. The emergence of a giant core makes quite a commotion, affecting the entire treasure land. The importance of a giant core cannot be understated. It's not just equivalent to 10 ordinary cores, but it's also easier to guard. Lin Yuan thought to himself, currently, each major ancient country holds tens of treasure land core pillars, but there are only 12 peak venerables. How are 12 peak venerables supposed to defend dozens of core pillars? Although a venerable can instantly arrive beside a refined core pillar, if many of them are simultaneously attacked, which one to choose for descent? And the giant core pillar, once refined, allows guarding 10 core pillars with the difficulty of defending just one. Based on the experience from the previous 6 treasure lands, the giant core could appear anywhere in the treasure land, in the central area, or the border area. Both are possible. Lin Yuan silently pondered, simultaneously focusing on sensing the space-time fluctuations around him. Once a giant core pillar emerges, the phenomenon it causes cannot be concealed, allowing one to reach it promptly if detected. Fierce Sun Nation Capital, within an isolated space. The likelihood of my fierce Sun ancient country refining the first giant core pillar is low. The Red Flame Venerable spoke calmly, so there's no need to pay much attention. His words were met with little rebuttal from the other peak venerables. Firstly, due to the vastness of space-time within the treasure land, the giant core pillar might appear anywhere. Considering travel speed, among the 70 to 80 peak venerables from the 6 major ancient countries, none can surpass the Fu ancient country's Fu Su Venerable. Over 1,000 years, Fu Su Venerable has demonstrated his expertise in space-time, able to traverse from one end of the treasure land to the other in a single breath. In other words, once a giant core pillar appears, Fu Su Venerable can descend in just one breath. This terrifying speed is unmatched by any top peak venerable, and if Fu Su Venerable is the first to refine a giant core pillar, other countries stand little chance. Our aim is the second and third giant core pillars. The Red Flame Venerable stated. Normally, a treasure land birthing more than 300 cores will have 3 giant cores. The previous 6 treasure lands each had 3 giant treasure land cores. Given Fu Su Venerable's strength, claiming the first giant core is without difficulty, but attempting to take the second? That would be challenging. Should Fu Su Venerable vie for the second giant core, the first one he holds would inevitably face attacks from top peak venerables of other ancient countries. Understood. Lin Yuan nodded. Thus far, within this treasure land, Fu Su Venerable's strength remains indisputably paramount. In fact, beyond just this treasure land, throughout the history of the 6 major ancient countries, among the beings below the founders, Fu Su Venerable is considered among the most powerful few. So the first giant core pillar has already been tacitly conceded to Fu Su Venerable by the Red Flame Venerable. In the treasure land, Lin Yuan idly hid within a valley meditating. Since the Red Flame Venerable, leader of Fierce Sun Ancient Country's treasure land campaign, has relinquished the contention for the first giant core pillar, Lin Yuan would naturally comply. Moreover, Lin Yuan found the reasoning of the Red Flame Venerable quite sound. There's no need to stubbornly contend with Fu Su Venerate. With time only halfway through and not yet at the height of competition, waiting a little longer could be wise. Time slowly drifts by. Then one day, the space-time within the treasure land quivered slightly. A strange wave swiftly swept across all directions. This aura, has the giant core pillar emerged? The presence of this strange wave immediately stirred the peak venerables, stemming from the treasure land itself rather than from the clashes of the strong. In the current state, only the emergence of a giant core pillar could cause such a disturbance. Humph! Countries like Fierce Sun, Thunderclap, and Xianxia have abandoned the fight for the first giant core pillar, but as for my Thunderclap ancient country, we must make a try. What of Fu Su Venerable's strength? A figure composed entirely of thunder flipped a hand, revealing a heart formed purely of the power of spacetime. With every beat, it aroused threads of spacetime force. Go! This thunder figure urged the spacetime heart, tearing through layers of spacetime, heading toward the place where the giant core pillar emerged. Giant core pillar? It might yet belong to my Deling ancient country. Spirit Prison Venerable's gaze turned profound. At that moment, both his eyes shimmered deep within. Upon sensing the strange wave, his figure disappeared without a trace. Simultaneously, the multitude of peak venerables likewise rushed toward the location of the giant core pillar. Even if they don't plan to compete, they wish to watch from afar. After all, Fu Su Venerable will surely make a move. Lin Yuan also perceived this peculiar wave. Compared to the strength of other ancient countries, his perception of the oddity is more intense and clearer, as if right before his eyes. Indeed, it was like that. The location where the giant core pillar arose was right beside him, only a few hundred meters away, almost adjacent. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 12:10 Evolution of the Chaotic Taiji Dao. Please subscribe. This giant core pillar is right next to me? Lin Yuan looked closely at a heavenly pillar 10 times more majestic than the others, quickly manifesting from the illusion, feeling rather uneasy in his heart. The entire time-space treasure land is vast, and the giant core pillar could have appeared anywhere. Yet, it appeared next to Lin Yuan? Such odds are almost like finding a 13th level inheritance while walking down the street. What to do? Lin Yuan looked at the giant core pillar before him, and after just a moment's thought, made a decision. Refine it. Buzz. Lin Yuan activated his outer cosmos and immediately began refining. Fierce Sun Capital, Independent Space. Red Flame Venerable stared at Lin Yuan in disbelief. Are you saying that the giant core pillar is right next to you? Yes. Lin Yuan nodded. The other numerous peak venerables were also somewhat stunned. They were just pondering where the giant core pillar might appear, yet it turned out to be so close to Galaxy Venerate. I've already started refining it. Lin Yuan said immediately. Yes. You refine it now. I've already rushed over with full effort. Red Flame Venerable said with solemnity. He had originally given up on contending for the first giant core pillar, thinking it unnecessary to fight Fu Su Venerate to the death. But that was based on the premise that Fu Su Venerate was the first to reach the giant core pillar and refine it first. Forcibly taking the giant core pillar from Fu Su Venerate's hands would be too costly, and in the end, whether it could actually be taken was another matter. Thus, after weighing the pros and cons, Red Flame Venerable chose to give up, which was also the most rational decision. But now, the giant core pillar appeared right next to Lin Yuan. That means Lin Yuan is the first strong person to come into contact with the giant core pillar. In this situation, Red Flame Venerable hesitated almost not at all and chose to compete for this giant core pillar. No choice. This giant core pillar was practically delivered to him. If Red Flame Venerable were to give up again, it would be too timid. 3 breaths. I can use special means to reach you within 3 breaths. You just need to hold on for 2 breaths. Red Flame Venerable said solemnly. The killer weapon he brought from the fierce Sun ancient country, once used, could completely protect this giant core treasure land. By then, if Fu Su Venerate wanted to forcibly refine the giant core treasure land, a certain price would need to be paid. In this situation, as long as Fu Su Venerate had some sense, he could completely choose to compete for the next giant core pillar that appeared in the world. I will try my best. Lin Yuan nodded. Fu Su Venerate could arrive in 1 breath, while Red Flame Venerable could arrive in 3 breaths. That means Lin Yuan needs to block Fu Su Venerate for 2 breaths. Actually, it couldn't be said to block, as long as he could stall Fu Su Venerate for 2 breaths, making it impossible for him to refine the giant core pillar, that would suffice. Before the giant core pillar, Lin Yuan took only 10 breaths to successfully refine it. All at once, Lin Yuan felt a significant reduction in the suppression of this treasure land time-space over him. At the same time, with the aid of this giant core pillar, his numerous avatars could also descend instantly. Lin Yuan's expression slightly changed as he saw ripples spreading in the space-time not far away, a man in a dark robe walking out. Fu Su Venerate? Lin Yuan's expression became solemn. The man in a dark robe was none other than Fu Su Venerate, an existence on par with the Moyu Tower Master. How come so fast? Lin Yuan felt the pressure, for only 1/10 of a breath had passed, and Fu Su Venerate was already here? There are 2 possibilities for this. One is that Fu Su Venerate had concealed his strength, and his true abilities were far beyond what had been shown over the past millennium. The other is that Fu Su Venerate also happened to be nearby, so his arrival speed exceeded Lin Yuan's expectations. You've got quite the luck. Fu Su Venerate glanced at Lin Yuan, smiling as he spoke. Given his speed, Lin Yuan had not only reached the giant core pillar but had also refined it by the time he arrived. There was only one explanation, that the giant core pillar appeared right by Lin Yuan. But unfortunately, you've encountered me. Before Fu Su Venerate's words were finished, the surrounding space-time began to grow dim. An aura of all things being void descended. From the moment he arrived to when he spoke the second sentence, less than 1/10,000th of a breath had passed, and Fu Su Venerate acted directly, not delaying in the slightest. What? Lin Yuan frowned. Under this dark and illusory force, his divine ability world began to collapse and fade. Go away. Fu Su Venerate struck with his right hand. Lin Yuan's face changed dramatically, his outer cosmos collapsing in an instant, and he was directly blasted away. Swoosh. Fu Su Venerate took a step, standing next to the giant core pillar, then immediately began refining it. In the blink of an eye, he successfully erased Lin Yuan's imprint and smoothly refined the giant core pillar. Fu Su Venerate? Lin Yuan looked sullen. From Fu Su Venerate's arrival until now, only half a breath had passed. Is this the power comparable to an invincible great saint? Lin Yuan took a deep breath. Although he wasn't injured, under Fu Su Venerate's assault, He couldn't resist at all and could only be passively knocked away. The 13th level inheritance Fu Su Venerate cultivated must be related to time. From the brief engagement just now, Lin Yuan deduced a lot, realizing that when facing Fu Su Venerate's attack, the concept of time was completely scrambled, leaving him with no intention to actively counter it. He entirely relied on passive defense from his outer cosmos. To withstand my strike without any serious injuries, you did quite well. After successfully refining the giant core pillar, Fu Su Venerate glanced at Lin Yuan and said with a hint of appreciation. He was well aware of the technique he employed, which could block an enemy's perception of time in an instant, forcing them to withstand several blows unprepared. Under such circumstances, for Lin Yuan to only be knocked away with minor injuries was a testament to his formidable defense, rare even among the top peak venerables. Swish. Suddenly, not far away, slight ripples in time and space emerged. A towering figure appeared, looking at the giant core pillar with a somewhat displeased expression. Fu Su Venerate, you're quite fast. The towering figure said in a deep voice, having reached there quickly himself, yet Fu Su Venerate still arrived a step ahead. Your barbaric wilderness country went to great lengths to compete for this treasured land. Fu Su Venerate smiled slightly. The towering figure snorted coldly and vanished. Had Fu Su Venerate not refined the giant core pillar before he arrived, he would not have hesitated to contend for it. But now, with Fu Su Venerate having refined the giant core venerable, there was no point in competing. Swish, swish, swish. More figures appeared, gazing from afar at the giant core pillar. Fu Su Venerate has refined it. As expected, who can contend with Fu Su Venerate for the first giant core pillar? Sigh. Let's wait for the next one. The arriving peak venerables conversed among themselves and gradually withdrew. What a pity! Red Flame Venerable shook his head slightly, then looked solemnly at Lin Yuan. But it's not without gains. At least we know that Fu Su Venerate cultivates more than one 13th tier inheritance, including one related to time. Lin Yuan had just recounted to Red Flame Venerable the scenario when Fu Su Venerate took action. As Lin Yuan speculated, Red Flame Venerable also concluded that Fu Su Venerate used a 13th tier inheritance related to time. Otherwise, Lin Yuan wouldn't have had no thought of resistance. It's well known. Although top peak venerables aren't Fu Su Venerate's match, the gap isn't as vast as imagined. Especially Lin Yuan, whose profound foundation allows him to detonate his outer universe when necessary. He could stall long enough for Red Flame Venerable to arrive. But in reality, Fu Su Venerate didn't give Lin Yuan the chance to go all out. Don't worry, we never intended to seize the first giant core treasure land anyway. Red Flame Venerate consoled Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan nodded without saying much. In the chaos void. Deep within the galaxy chaos continent. Lin Yuan sat cross-legged, reflecting on the gap between himself and a powerhouse like Fu Su Venerate. Compared to these peak-level individuals, wielding more than one 13th tier method, my advantage is almost wiped out. Lin Yuan assessed himself. In terms of 13th tier methods, Lin Yuan had the Infinite Void Inheritance and the Divine Ability Fierce Sun Opening the Sky, which together equated to two 13th tier methods. But Fu Su Venerate also possessed them. Fu Su Venerate had advantages that Lin Yuan didn't, such as the path of evolution through chaos power, and the advantage in terms of realm, among others. And powerhouse like Fu Su Venerate wasn't the only one in Defu Ancient Country. Even other 5 major ancient countries, like Fierce Sun Ancient Country and Xianin Ancient Country, had them too. However, such powerhouses had nothing else to seek and were mostly preparing to make that leap. Even if a new top-tier treasure land emerged, they couldn't be persuaded to act. Fu Su Venerate came here purely because he happened to have nothing else to do. Take it slowly, I still have plenty of room for improvement. Lin Yuan gathered his thoughts without any feelings of frustration. Lin Yuan continued his cultivation. Infinite Void. Lin Yuan focused on cultivating the 3rd layer of this 13th tier inheritance, feeling he was close to achieving it, which would lead to a transformation of his inner universe. Just then, dong, dong dong dong. A deep and powerful sound suddenly emerged. Lin Yuan seemed to sense something, immediately halting his cultivation of infinite void, and his consciousness incarnated to the highest point of his inner universe. Here, chaos chi floated, myriad chaos rule essences writhed, and a massive egg entirely composed of chaos chi quietly floated there. Dong dong dong. A deep sound emanated from within the egg, as if evolving to give birth to something. Is my chaotic Taiji Dao about to materialize? Lin Yuan carefully observed the giant egg. Over time, cracking sounds appeared continuously on the egg, and numerous cracks surfaced, finally releasing forces of black and white that were distinctly separate yet mutually integrated. The black and white forces continued to merge, containing the extreme powers of Taiyin and Taiyang. This terrifying aura naturally spread with the black and white power, instantly crushing layers of time and space, even causing large swathes of chaos chi to collapse. What is this power? The red-clad little girl resting against a jade gourd was suddenly startled awake, sensing an oppressive force that surpassed the pressure felt by any previous cultivator of the infinite void inheritance. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 12:11 Invincible Great Saint? Request subscription. The girl in red looked around, trying to capture the source of oppression, but felt the vastness of the world beyond her gaze. Infinite void has been inherited for endless ages, experienced by successive cultivators, with some even cultivating it to the fifth layer, reaching the power to overlook the entire chaos void as an invincible great saint. The girl in red was well aware of the pressure of an invincible great saint, but compared to this moment, it still seemed slightly inferior. What is going on? The girl in red kept observing, her thoughts spreading, and her first thought was whether Lin Yuan had become an invincible great saint, but she immediately dismissed it, first because Lin Yuan wasn't even in the chaos realm, so how could he talk of being an invincible great saint? Secondly, the internal universe she sensed had not undergone more intricate microscopic restructuring. It was evident that the third layer of infinite void was not yet accomplished. In this situation, the girl in red was curious about what means Lin Yuan used to produce a transformation that even made her feel oppressively transformed. Did he master the second 13th grade inheritance? Mastery here is not an entry point, but like infinite void, at least trained to the fifth layer. But this is equally as difficult as ascending to the heavens. A 13th grade inheritance is not a roadside cabbage, easily mastered. Each 13th grade inheritance has numerous preconditions. This point is evident from how many years Lin Yuan has cultivated infinite void, still remaining at the second layer. Moreover, the girl in red faintly felt that the oppression she captured at this moment was definitely not due to the power transformation from mastering some inheritance. This pressure is related to the transformation of life's essence or the compensation of one's Dao, like the ultimate leap of an 11th grade life into the 12th grade, or the utmost sublimation of one's Dao, etc. The giant egg composed of chaos rule veins was momentarily crumbling, and a large amount of intertwined black and white power overflowed, converging before Lin Yuan. Is this the chaotic power path that I have evolved? Lin Yuan gazed at the black and white forces before him, feeling both familiar and strange. This was an entirely new rule of power had never mastered, yet Lin Yuan had an illusion of having it innately. A large amount of black and white power continuously intertwined and fused, each thread of black and white power contained the vast rule essence Lin Yuan mastered, and finally, as the chaos giant egg completely shattered, all the black and white power finally converged, forming a black and white cross Tai Chi diagram. The white part contained endless Taiyang power, supremely rigid and yang. The black part was circulating with the perpetual flow of Taiyin power, grand and vast. The balance between Taiyin and Taiyang power formed a perfect equilibrium, fusing and differentiating at every moment. Boom! Lin Yuan looked at the Tai Chi diagram before him, feeling his consciousness was roaring. In the moment the Tai Chi diagram took shape, a miniature Taiji diagram imprint appeared on Lin Yuan's brow. Not only this cosmic embodiment within but the true self outside, and the primordial spirit embodiments throughout the chaos void, all gathered a Taiji diagram imprint at the brow. Chaos Taiji? Lin Yuan's gaze became unprecedentedly distant and profound, the black and white intersecting Tai Chi diagram before his eyes instantly expanded countless times, merging with his entire internal universe. Lin Yuan's internal universe was measured by trillions of light years, yet the expansion and complete coverage of the Tai Chi diagram took no more than an instant, just Lin Yuan's mere thought, and the Tai Chi diagram had already completed its fusion. Instant arrival upon thought. The moment the boundless Tai Chi diagram merged with the internal universe began to undergo some transformation. Space-time was becoming increasingly perfect, the Tao rules were rapidly being enhanced, and the size of the internal universe started to expand crazily. Why is the evolution of the chaos power path within the chaos void termed a great saint if not a venerable? Because the power of a chaos great saint far surpasses that of a chaos venerable, this supremacy is all-encompassing, deriving from the evolved chaos power path. The chaos great saint, who evolves the chaos power path, will be nourished by the chaos power path in every aspect. Their physical body, soul, spirit, will, and internal universe will all receive a massive uplift. At this moment, although Lin Yuan is not perfectly in the chaos realm, the chaotic Taiji Dao has been smoothly evolved, naturally bringing about a comprehensive transformation and uplift to himself. The changes in the internal universe were immediately perceived by the girl in red. This change, the heart of the girl in red was shaken. The change in the internal universe at this moment was not the kind of transformation practiced by Infinite Void. Infinite Void essentially involves the reorganization of the most microscopic parts of the internal universe. Similar to carbon turning into a diamond, the particle compositions of both remain the same. But the transformation of the internal universe at hand is the most direct degree of transformation, from 1 to 2 to 100 to 1,000 to 10,000. Everything is sublimating and transforming, as if ascending with the rising sun into the sky. Chaos Evolution Power Path. Has the Chaos Evolution Power Path been realized? At this moment, the girl in red finally speculated on key information. The means to cause the internal universe to undergo such a change are not many, especially such a dramatic transformation in a short time, only a few, such as entering the chaos realm or evolving a chaos power path. Exactly what kind of chaos power path was evolved to cause such a commotion? The girl in red took a deep breath. She was very aware of Lin Yuan's talent and aptitude, and did not doubt the new master evolving the chaos power path. But now, the magnitude of the internal universe's uplift and the immense pressure she felt caused her perception to question. Search the novel Fire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1212 Invincible Great Saint? Request subscription. _2 What kind of chaotic evolutionary path exhibits such power just in its nascent stage? Outside, deep within the chaos continent of the galaxy, Lin Yuan was deeply immersed in his comprehensive transformation, feeling the impact of the chaotic Taiji Dao on him, like a giant pillar supporting everything. The Tai Chi diagram mark on Lin Yuan's brow slowly rotated, with an inexplicable ripple centered on him, spreading in all directions, toward heaven and earth, toward the chaos void. Is this imprinting my Dao into this chaos void? Lin Yuan considered thoughtfully. The birth of any chaos great saint would undergo this process, imprinting their Dao onto chaos. It's also a kind of anchor point, a Dao beacon. Lin Yuan did not interfere. Imprinting one's Dao into chaos connected with the chaos void, and such a connection could have some effects even if one fell into a time loop. Whether imprinting one's Dao into chaos or spreading the paths of one's evolution, the goal is to establish anchor points, Dao beacons. But to break through the time loop, it mainly falls on oneself. These methods at most provide auxiliary effects. However, for Lin Yuan, he would certainly not pass up any means to aid in breaking through the time loop, striving to elevate external conditions to the highest before addressing anything else. The chaotic Taiji Dao swiftly merged into the boundless void. At that moment, special entities in various hidden places within the chaos void seemed to sense something, gazing distantly towards the direction of the chaos continent of the galaxy. Is a chaos great saint being born, imprinting their Dao into chaos? A new path of chaotic evolutionary power is being born. But is this really a newly born path of chaotic power? How is it much more terrifying than some peerless great saints? The special entities were somewhat incredulous. As special entities, they are mostly related to the 13th realm, like the Eye of Myriad Laws, or spirits of various mysterious places, etc. Their ancientness bore witness to the rise and fall of many chaos great saints, peerless great saints, and even invincible great saints. Usually, the imprinting of one's Dao by a chaos great saint would not draw their attention. But now, as the chaotic Taiji Dao continued to diffuse and imprint, the whole chaos void was undergoing some subtle and significant changes, which shocked many special entities. It's the Galaxy Great Saint, who not long ago suppressed several other chaos great saints in the Shenhuang universe. At that time, the power of the Galaxy Great Saint was only near that of a peerless great saint. Immediately, a special entity recognized Lin Yuan, the severed long blade. This Galaxy Great Saint must have cultivated the 13th realm legacy representing foundational heritage, which allowed sweeping over other chaos great saints without having evolved a path of chaotic power. That legacy? Truly remarkable. But reaching near peerless great saint without evolving a path of chaotic power, and now evolving such a formidable path of chaotic power, isn't that directly a peerless great saint? The special entities communicated amongst themselves. With their long-lived experiences, they showed little interest in ordinary great saints. However, an invincible great saint? Only one emerges after a long cosmic era. Every invincible great saint leaves a unique imprint in the chaos void, naturally earning a high regard from these special entities. Especially an unconventional invincible great saint like Lin Yuan? Just evolved a path of chaotic power, already deemed an invincible great saint? This kind of elevation and transformation might not have happened since the inception of the chaos void. This Galaxy Great Saint, as long as nothing unexpected happens, growing smoothly, can rank among the top 5, or even top 3, of all invincible great saints in the history of our chaos void. A special entity expressed with astonishment. The condition for the birth of an invincible great saint is to sweep across all great saints of the era, earning the respect and submission of numerous great saints. Thus, two invincible great saints theoretically would not face each other to determine victory. However, in the hearts of many special entities, they still ranked the previously born invincible great saints, but without exception, Lin Yuan's current performance, even among invincible great saints, was extraordinarily dazzling, even unfathomable. Galaxy Great Saint? Amidst numerous special entities, the Eye of Myriad Laws was filled with emotion, long convinced that Lin Yuan at the very least would become an invincible great saint, but this day came so soon? And growing smoothly in the future, ranking among the top 5 or even top 3 of all invincible great saints in the history of the Chaos Void. Don't underestimate this top 5 or top 3. The Chaos Void has nurtured countless freakish and monstrous beings over endless ages, and ranking among the top 5 or top 3 is quite extraordinary. This includes some special periods when 13th realm time entities took personal interest and cultivated disciples themselves, etc., deep within the chaos continent of the galaxy. After evolving a path of chaotic power, Lin Yuan's perception significantly enhanced, noticing subtle feelings of being watched the moment he imprinted his Dao into chaos. Is it those special entities? Lin Yuan did not pay much attention regarding the Moyu Tower Master or Shenhuang as merely being wary of those special entities. Fear? Absolutely none. For these special entities cannot actively take action. As long as you don't provoke them, there will be no issues, and even if provoked, their backing 13th realm time entities may not necessarily pay attention. My current strength. Lin Yuan collected his thoughts. After the intense initial transformation, his pace of improvement gradually slowed, though even this slower pace was one that ordinary Chaos Great Saints could not potentially rival. The extent of enhancement from a Chaos Great Saint evolving a path of chaotic power depends on the path itself. Most Chaos Great Saints' paths differ slightly, making their enhancement similar. But Lin Yuan? The prerequisite requirement for the evolution of the chaotic Taiji Dao light, comprehension of the second realm, was already beyond reach for nearly all Chaos Great Saints. This second realm peak here solely refers to Lin Yuan, but for other beings, without against heaven's understanding, one must reach the third realm. Inner universe. Beside the jade gourd, a girl in red stood, feeling the changes in each instant of the space-time great Dao, momentarily at a loss for words. Lin Yuan's figure coalesced beside her, smiling as he looked at the girl in red. What kind of chaotic power path did you evolve? The girl in red couldn't resist asking. What kind of chaotic power path? Lin Yuan pondered briefly, then said, I call it Chaos Taiji. The moment he finished speaking, the girl in red saw Lin Yuan raise his right hand, with black and white interwoven breaths swirling, although only at the fingertips, yet its influence radiated through layers of spacetime. Chaos Taiji? This should be the strongest path of chaotic power I have seen. The girl in red added hastily after speaking, as if struck by a thought, except for the old master. In her words, the old master naturally referred to the creator of the infinite void, that 13th realm time entity. Certainly, I cannot compare with the great time entities. Lin Yuan smiled and shook his head. The more he cultivated, the more he felt the gap with the 13th realm. Lin Yuan, comprehending the 13th realm weapon sky void tripod, experiencing the retained imprints within, knew a trace of power from a 13th realm time entity could utterly destroy myriad void domains. Is there any eternal gold left? Lin Yuan looked at the girl in red and asked. Eternal gold is a special metal material used specifically to measure the strength of one's inner universe. Previously, when Lin Yuan cultivated to around the second layer of infinite void, he measured the level of his inner universe with this metal. There are still some. The girl in red nodded. Why do you need eternal gold? With a faint smile, Lin Yuan calmly replied, I want to know how strong I am now. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 12-13. Lin Yuan and the various heavenly venerates. Please subscribe. Lin Yuan, having evolved the chaotic Taiji Dao, was very sure that his strength had completely surpassed that of a transcendent great saint. Yet, whether he had reached the level of an invincible great saint remained uncertain. The gap between a transcendent great saint and an invincible great saint was vast. In those years, the Xianhuang could easily drive the great saint Hunshao and Jade Qilin great saint, such transcendent great saints, to a dead end, finally forcing them to reincarnate. Even among the 6 ancient countries of the origin world, the strongest venerables who were comparable to the invincible great saints, such as the Fu Su Venerate, were far superior to the topmost peak venerables. Before the Fu Su Venerate, Lin Yuan didn't even have the chance to fight back, only passively enduring the blows, as the power and methods mastered by the opponent were far beyond what Lin Yuan could handle. So now Lin Yuan was very curious about his own strength. Was he close to being an invincible great saint, or had he completely stepped into the realm of the invincible great saint? Want to know how strong you are? The girl in red slightly twitched the corner of her mouth upon hearing this. If she weren't so clear about Lin Yuan's character, and knowing this inheritor of the infinite void had just undergone a transformation, she would have doubted the truth of his words. Okay. The girl in red nodded, then flipped her hand. Instantly, the jade gourd trembled slightly, and a piece of eternal essence gold, about hundreds of meters large, flew out, hovering in front of Lin Yuan. Penetrate this piece of eternal essence gold, and you probably possess the strength of the 5th layer of the infinite void, the girl in red said. The infinite void has 7 layers in total, with the 7th being a theoretical level, while the 5th layer. Normally, cultivating the 13th level legacy to the 5th layer would grant one the strength to traverse the chaos void and become an invincible great saint. As for the 6th layer, few cultivators of the infinite void have reached the 6th layer. Penetrate. Lin Yuan looked at the eternal essence gold in front of him. The 2nd layer threshold of the infinite void requires leaving a trace over 10 centimeters deep on the eternal essence gold. But the 5th layer requires penetrating a piece of eternal essence gold hundreds of meters large, a significant difference indeed. The power of the inner universe circulated, with a magnificent black and white Tai Chi diagram faintly appearing and disappearing. The 100-meter large eternal essence gold in front of Lin Yuan quickly twisted and disintegrated. Within a single breath, the entire piece of eternal essence gold was pierced through, with the remaining parts continually collapsing. Such power! The girl in red took a deep breath. She almost didn't feel any power fluctuations, yet the eternal essence gold was pierced through, indicating a complete restraint of power. This meant that Lin Yuan hadn't used his full power. Once he strikes with full force, it would be challenging to perfectly contain all the power. Your inner universe now has reached the level of the 5th layer of the infinite void. No, it's approaching the 6th layer. Your strength has fully stepped into the realm of the invincible great saint, the girl in red quickly said, while looking somewhat distressed at the pierced-through eternal essence gold. The eternal essence gold, left by the creator of the infinite void, is limited, and usually, the girl in red would only take out a meter or two at most. If Lin Yuan's strength weren't so terrifying, she wouldn't have brought out such a large piece. Invincible great saint? Lin Yuan steadied his mind. At the same time, thinking of the Shen Huang and the Moyu Tower Master. When his own homeland universe was so weak, he knew of these two absolute powerhouses, and now he finally reached their level of strength. Certainly, the Shen Huang finally forcefully broke free from the time loop, surpassing the boundary of the 12th level, no longer within the normal level range. What do you plan to do next? The girl in red retracted the eternal essence gold, asked curiously. First, finish cultivating the 3rd layer of the infinite void, Lin Yuan said. He had been cultivating the 3rd layer for a long time, and evolving into the chaotic Taiji Dao had led to a profound transformation of his inner universe, greatly advancing the cultivation of this 13th level legacy. The 3rd layer of the infinite void? The girl in red looked at Lin Yuan, suddenly realizing that this inheritor hadn't yet finished the 3rd layer of the infinite void. Having such strength without completing the 3rd layer, if he completes the 3rd layer, how many layers will that compare to? The 6th layer? After chatting with the girl in red for a few more sentences, Lin Yuan began wholeheartedly cultivating the 3rd layer of the infinite void. The cultivation of this 13th level legacy is essentially a micro-physical restructuring and reorganization of the inner universe, which is much easier under the control of the chaotic Taiji Dao. Plus, Lin Yuan had already cultivated halfway through the 3rd layer of the infinite void. It only took 1 or 2 years. The inner universe of Lin Yuan underwent another transformation. On the infinite micro level, the structure of the inner universe was becoming perfectly complete. The 3rd layer is completed. Lin Yuan opened his eyes, overlooking the vast inner universe. Not to mention how stable the space-time Dao rules of this universe were, simply its diameter size, having gone through 2 transformations, first evolving into the chaotic Taiji Dao, and then completing the 3rd layer of the infinite void. Lin Yuan's inner universe reached 500 trillion light-years. 500 trillion light-years, far surpassing the naturally born universe within the chaos void, even among transcendent great saints, having such a large inner universe is extremely rare. This is still based on the premise that Lin Yuan's inner universe isn't specialized in size or area. I suppose my current strength could be considered strong among the invincible great saints? Lin Yuan thought to himself. The chaos void is different from the origin world, where the invincible great saints are solitary, not easily comparable. Continue cultivating. Lin Yuan took out the 2nd layer weapon, the sky void tripod, pondering the endless rules and great Tao contained within it, while the cosmos within his flesh and soul body continued to elevate until it reached its growth limit. At that time, it would be when Lin Yuan crosses into the Chaos Realm. Feng Yuan World. In the treasured land. Lin Yuan opened his eyes, feeling the explosive growth of his own strength. By developing a path of chaos power, mastering the third layer of infinite void, his true self's inherent potential in this Feng Yuan world also experienced a significant enhancement. The space-time suppression in this treasured land can no longer restrict me. Lin Yuan observed the surrounding space-time. The newly emerged treasured land, connected to the origin source of Feng Yuan world, produces extremely strong space-time suppression, which greatly reduces the range of investigation of heavenly venerate-level experts, and equally plummets the distance of space-time traversal. A peak venerable wishing to traverse the entire treasured land can't rely solely on their own power. It would take considerable time, and only someone like Fu Su Venerate, the strongest venerable, could traverse the treasured land in a single breath. But now, Lin Yuan had already realized that the space-time suppression of this treasured land couldn't contain him, meaning Lin Yuan could also traverse the entire treasured land in a single breath just like Fu Su Venerate. Even more swiftly. Fu Su Venerate? Lin Yuan's eyes narrowed slightly, looking towards a direction. That was the location where the first giant core pillar emerged, and back then Lin Yuan was just beside it, having the earliest opportunity to refine the giant core pillar. However, this opportunity was seized by the later arriving Fu Su Venerate. At that time, Lin Yuan had no ability to resist in front of Fu Su Venerate and was directly slapped away. In the capital of the fierce Sun ancient country, in independent space. Everyone, next we must face the strong of other ancient countries to seize the core pillars head-on. Red Flame Venerable spoke gravely. Having been in the treasured land for over 1,000 years, by now most of the unmastered core pillars have been refined by the strong of various ancient countries. To continue refining more core pillars now, one must snatch those already refined pillars from other ancient countries. Okay. No problem. Qi Yen, who do you plan to strike first? The peak venerables nodded. They had long been prepared, entering the treasured land 1,000 years ago. That was the warm-up. The mutual scrambles between ancient country powers were just superficial engagements. In the 500 years after the millennium, the intensity of scrambles would rapidly increase, and the last 500 years would be the period of fiercest competition, during which all peak venerables would exert their full effort, and the heritage weapons of various ancient countries would be unleashed. Red Flame Venerable nodded, suddenly looking at Lin Yuan, softly inquiring, "Galaxy, what do you think?" As one of the only 4 top peak venerables in this fierce Sun ancient country, Red Flame Venerable regarded Galaxy Venerate with importance. "What do you think?" Lin Yuan was slightly taken aback, pondered, and then said, "Could we wait a while longer?" "Wait a while longer?" Red Flame Venerable was puzzled. The other numerous peak venerables were also slightly surprised. "Why wait a while longer?" "I plan to," Lin Yuan grinned and said, "take back that giant core pillar." Giant core pillar. One by one, the peak venerables of Defu ancient country sat cross-legged. The importance of the giant core pillar was too high, even though it had been refined by Fu Su Venerate. Other strong of Defu ancient country would also send a main battle physical body to guard at all times, to respond to any variables. In this competition for the treasured land, our Defu ancient country occupies 72 refined core pillars, plus this set of giant core pillars, making a total of 82. Leading the second-place barbaric wilderness country by nearly 30 core pillars. The many peak venerables of Defu ancient country were relaxed, now that their country had an absolute advantage, even if the 2 giant core pillars that emerge later fall into the hands of a single ancient country. The number of refined core pillars occupied couldn't surpass Defu ancient country. Moreover, the probability of the 2 giant core pillars falling into the hands of one ancient country is too low. Even Defu ancient country wasn't confident, let alone other ancient countries. Still relying on Fu Su Venerate, if it weren't for Fu Su Venerate, this giant core pillar would have probably fallen into the hands of fierce Sun ancient country. Indeed, that galaxy venerate of fierce sun ancient country sure was lucky, with the giant core pillar descending right next to him. If not for Fu Su venerate's supreme strength, tisk, what good is luck? Didn't Fu Su venerate still slap him away? The peak venerables of the Fu ancient country casually conversed. As one of the oldest ancient countries, they had a subtle superiority when facing same-tier experts from other ancient countries. Even when facing someone like Galaxy Venerate, the first to excavate ancestral bloodline to the Venerate level. What is an ancestral bloodline at the Venerate level worth? At this moment, a young man appeared near this giant core pillar. The young man had a faint black and white Taiji diagram mark on his forehead, the black and white aura swirling, appearing openly in the sight of all the stationed peak venerables of the Fu ancient country. He just stood there quietly without any words or actions. Yet it made many of the peak venerables of the Fu ancient country's hearts tremble, regardless of strength, whether top peak venerables or ordinary ones, all felt their minds unsettled, feeling suffocated. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 12-14. Those who block the galaxy, body and soul shattered, subscription requested, fierce sun capital, isolated space. Red flame venerable stared blankly at Lin Yuan. The eyes of the other peak venerables were similar, looking at Lin Yuan with incredulity. Take back the giant core column? Currently, that giant core column has been occupied and refined by Fu Su Venerate, this strongest venerable of the 6 ancient nations. With a single thought he could descend. Moreover, beside the giant core column, there must be other peak venerables of the Defu ancient nation guarding with their main battle bodies. Even if the fierce sun ancient country were to throw everything against Defu ancient country, using all ancient country weapons, the chance of taking down that giant core column is extremely low. Let alone Lin Yuan going there alone. Galaxy, do not be impulsive, Red Flame Venerable immediately said. Fu Su Venerate's strength is unfathomable. He has the ability to kill top-tier peak venerables. Previously, Lin Yuan was able to survive against Fu Su Venerate because this strongest venerable focused most of his attention on refining the giant core pillar, not paying attention to Lin Yuan, just smacking him away without any follow-up. But now, if Lin Yuan dares to go alone to that giant core column, Fu Su Venerate would surely not mind taking action. Strictly speaking, the fierce sun ancient country for the Defu ancient country is also a threat. Being able to eliminate a top-tier peak venerable ahead of time would be very advantageous for the Defu ancient country. I know Fu Su Venerate is very strong. Lin Yuan nodded. The strongest venerables of the 6 ancient nations are comparable to the invincible great saints of the Chaos Void. This level of powerhouse either possesses absolute overwhelming advantages, such as mastering the 5th layer of Infinite Void, Invincible Great Saint, whose internal universe compared to the same level Great Saint is not just 1,000 times stronger. Or they grasp special rule means like Fu Su Venerate's chaotic time techniques. Ordinary top-tier peak venerables can only passively take the hit. Rest assured, since I dare to go, I must have confidence. Lin Yuan looked at the numerous peak venerables. I've had a slight breakthrough in my power, I should not be weaker than Fu Su Venerate. As soon as these words were spoken, Red Flame Venerable and other fierce Sun Ancient Country peak venerables were shocked. Not weaker than Fu Su Venerate? Isn't that the level of the strongest venerable? Galaxy Venerate has already reached this realm? Red Flame Venerable and other peak venerables found it hard to believe. Galaxy Venerate's ancestral bloodline excavated to the venerable level, if in an immensely distant future, when one's venerable level bloodline grows to the limit. Reaching the level of the strongest venerable is still hopeful. But how long after Lin Yuan stepped into the heavenly venerable realm? Though Red Flame Venerables found it somewhat unbelievable, looking at Lin Yuan's expressions and tone, they chose to trust. Galaxy Venerate, why don't you wait a bit longer? Until I arrive? Although my power is not comparable to Fu Su Venerate, I carry numerous foundation weaponry, enough to restrain and counter that Fu Su venerate. Red Flame Venerate immediately said, "If Lin Yuan's strength truly isn't weaker than Fu Su venerate, and their fierce Sun ancient country deployed fully, there really is a great chance to take down that giant core column. No need." Lin Yuan immediately refused. This time, with his breakthrough in strength, he indeed has the thought of redeeming himself and retaking the giant core column. But there's no need to bring out all the trump cards and foundation of fierce Sun ancient country, which are reserved for the last few hundred or even decades of the contest over treasure lands. All right. Red Flame Venerate nodded, not insisting. He believed Lin Yuan must have a plan. Outside the giant core column, the air of heaven and earth felt like a quagmire, with black and white energies swirling. If viewed from millions of miles above, one would find at this moment, centered on the giant core column, a massive black and white yin-yang tai chi diagram slowly forming. Peak venerables from Defu ancient country couldn't help but feel suffocated. They looked at Lin Yuan with extreme solemnity, as if facing a formidable enemy. As the instinct of the strong, they realized that the young man far away was terrifying. Just by standing there without any aura emitted, made their numerous peak venerables' hearts tremble. What kind of power is this? Galaxy Venerate, is he the Galaxy Venerate from fierce Sun ancient country? Some peak venerables from Defu ancient country recognized Lin Yuan. In fact, other venerables also simultaneously recognized Lin Yuan, but had no time to think deeply. Galaxy Venerate, be quick to leave, this is my Defu ancient country's territory. Fu Yu Venerate said solemnly, putting most of his focus around. He felt Galaxy Venerate dared to appear here must have a certain confidence. Perhaps other top-tier peak venerables from fierce Sun ancient country are ambushing nearby. That oppressive aura making their hearts shiver might be sourced from here? Is it? Lin Yuan looked distantly at that imposing giant core column, smiling and said, "If you yield this pillar now, you can live." Yield the pillar? Fu Yu Venerate stared at Lin Yuan. There's always been only Defu ancient country treating other ancient countries like this. Since when does fierce Sun ancient country dare treat Defu ancient country this way? Galaxy Venerate, let me come and meet you. At this point, Fu Yun Venerable stepped out, looked at Lin Yuan with cold eyes. Fu Yun Venerable is Defu ancient country's top-tier peak venerable. In terms of strength, he's by no means weaker than Lin Yuan before his breakthrough. Rumble. Time and space around Fu Yun Venerable transformed into clouds, rapidly enveloping toward Lin Yuan. This is also Fu Yun Venerable's attack method, using clouds to erode enemies. Even top-tier peak venerables of the same class must be suppressed by these layers of clouds. Fu Yu Venerate and other peak venerables merely watched coldly, not taking action themselves. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. You're tuning in to the Wang Lin's Journey YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.